All right, everyone, we're back with another round of Alphabet Stew. Finally got some reaction from people, which I do think is quite nice. I mean, because you normally I would have just read this out loud at like an event and then would have just handed them the copy. But this is one of those times where I wrote it, gave it to people, and then had to make sure I get. So this one's going to be kind of a weird kind of sandwich. I got two M's and an S. So that'll basically be how it's going to go. Okay. So yeah, it just I know a lot of people that have names started with the letter M, so it kind of comes up every now and then, but it's nothing bad. It's just you kind of have to stretch, what kind of words you know. Okay. Magic can be found in the simplest of moments, but it's often hard to notice as there is so much of normal life getting in the way that we fail to see something is different in some way, and those missed opportunities somehow haunts us. It gets worse when someone else instead finds fortune without trying. Said, precious time is sadly wasted trying to locate the next batch of magic, and it gets harder and harder to quench that difficult thirst after life has been very dry or gives the same thing over and over, so that we that we require anything new just to see what it's like to be not imprisoned in the same rut. Said said where things travel slowly to prevent someone realize that good things can still occur if we fall in like ants. Take a moment and look around you to see what has brought you magic in the past. To think of a time unspoiled by some difficult problem you experience today. In a little time, you'll feel something not vexing, but racing to come to the surface in order to fill you with some of that old joy you nearly forgot. White clouds drifting across the big sky can take many shapes if you look at them, but you'll have to explore your imagination to give the clouds a proper form before they fade away into the horizon. Said yesterday's fantasy quickly slips back into your mind where so many lost things sleep in some strange zone, said where they hope to be awakened during another fleeting moment where sorrow has no power. After so many years of feeling trapped in the darkness, we still try to find the lights that might finally, said, bring us someplace that makes us feel glad to be alive and thankful for making it so far. It said, without the comfort of friends who have their own magic, it said that needs to mix with others to make something truly delightful. It said that can also be what others have looked for so long as a proof that anything is possible. Even in darker times, it's not impossible to smile, as we all have memories of better days. Said, and if we can find the strength to see what's available in the present, so to keep any positive feelings alive, to see if they grow into something else that can be used for another dark time where we need a little help to nurture hope, said, so it never truly fades and allows us to see the world in a better light, and said, not a really ugly mess. Inside us all is the power to change, but we all need a little help to get things going, and I pray that my jolt of creativity has triggered something inside of you that'll be used to help others, so that even if the kindness of the past seems out of reach. It's never too far, said, away that we can't remember there is light no matter where we go, said, and we must share it with others to guarantee darkness never succeeds. So yeah, this is actually for someone I knew for kind of a long time. Um, as knew for a long time. Um, just ran into him by chance. Then we end up working together. So that's all it is. This next person is actually someone I went to school with, and we just kind of lost touch. And then I didn't realize they said that they were a lot closer, and they just kind of changed over the years. And just if you didn't really see the change, you like me, I just thought they were a relative of them. Then I just saw their name somewhere, and it's like, are you this person? And they said yes. So simple things in life can give us the highest strength after feeling defeated to the point so we often can't remember what it was like to be happy. And without good events and sympathetic people, it's hard to quench the vast thirst to have a decent day where nothing goes wrong, to give us a chance to find the peaceful rhythm, and so that others seem to have constantly and sadly refused to share with those lost in life. Only by connecting by others with other less fortunate individuals, we find it a bit easier to attempt to smile and notice that we're not alone in this world and need all the support we can get, because all it takes is one moment for things to dramatically change without any inklings on how long it can last, or if there's a light at the end of the tunnel that could help us find a way to see the world isn't really so terrible. Keeping in touch with old friends can provide some solace because it means so we weren't forgotten, as juggling chaotic lives, full of ever-changing faces is tough enough. So having someone from the past to increase positive vibes, to keep memories alive, and to encourage the sharing of other details to permit healing on various levels, as the decay of time can inflict immense damage, especially when we're alone. It said, gain the assurance to meet new people is an ordeal because we want to be our best selves. It said, once we finally find someone willing to learn about the journey, said of another, and hopefully share some of their events, it said, that made their path less and smooth, yet provide new ways to grow and meet the challenges demanded by fate, meant to keep us on our toes for whenever things decide to become much worse. Compassion is always important when meeting new people, said old and new, because not everyone has had the best life possible upon encountering them. So asking too many difficult questions can overwhelm any anxious person who hardly finds the strength to ask a stranger something difficult about their lives. Zero things are truly guaranteed in life because some humans cause problems, and whatever is promised and said to yuppies rarely makes it back to the commoners who just want to live the best way possible and maybe experience something great, just knowing that there are still those fighting for a healthier tomorrow. Whatever happens in the future, I'm glad we found each other in the present to help each other, to value those who have helped brighten our world, no matter what comes our way, and hopefully unleash something far greater within ourselves that will not only make us smile, but help those with trials of their own that need a lot of work, but can always improve with the power of friendship. And I think that this kind of speaks, just to the fact that some people, you may only know for a brief amount of time, especially if you're going like college, instead of having like a full year to actually to kind of know people. You're there for about 16 weeks, and and sometimes you may only have like class like twice a week for maybe a little more than an hour. So if everyone kind of drifts apart, there's just really isn't much of a chance to figure anything else, because sometimes you don't even remember someone's last name, and you're kind of hoping they'll reach out to you and you instead, but things just kind of get lost in the past. Okay, this last poem was actually written recently. Um, this this person actually has surprised me a lot with their compassion and the fact that if I mention something kind of random, they actually do know what I'm talking about, and it's just my way of actually saying thank you. Many faces pass us by every day in the ever-changing world, and we wonder if we were noticed, because not everybody has the time to stop and acknowledge those who feel they're going against the flow as opportunities slip by to see life in a better light, as so many go unseen, no matter how they struggle. Putting on a brave face all the time can be tough, so we feel like crying after losing good people on the quest for happiness, as fate unkindly pulls apart relationships without having sufficient compassion to return some of the joy, so when other lost souls come together, sharing the same pain of loneliness, but silence is preferred, as there's too much fear of being rejected that it feels better to remain in isolation. Time doesn't heal all wounds, as the deepest scars never want to fade, and this can make it difficult to unlock the door to happiness after being rejected by so many who only wanted to get close. Like some villain who only lives to see others suffer, once hope has been defeated and despair is the only friend. Wanting yourself to be happy isn't a sin, because if others are having a grand time. We simply want to experience some of that positive energy that makes us feel whole in a society that wants us to be empty, yammering idiots, instead, instead when whatever was supposed to make us cheerful turns out to be yet another folly. Zombies are an appropriate title for how some see others who have lost their spark in normal life, and among such crowds might be someone wanting to escape. However, they blend instead. However, they blend into the crowd. They feel banished. Instead, they blend to, into the crowd, so they feel banished to the depths of society, where they must watch the unworthy get better lives without effort. Can you remember when a time when you wanted to cry from feeling so alone that you begged for a really dim light on the horizon to remind you how far you've traveled in the darkness? So, without positive emotions, for a small amount of support for whatever the future brings, knowing that it can't be returned? Finding good friends isn't impossible, although we may not know who we found for some time, as gold is rarely struck on the first time in random places, instead, where you may not expect to find a way to get hope from being remembered by someone who makes you smile after feeling remorse in places that impose misery, instead because you have to bow to everyone else long before it's your turn to be mildly happy. Said joy is a living thing and must be protected for dark times, as while the rest of the world is dreary, your kingdom of the heart, and said, your kingdom of the heart and mind can shine brightly, but only, and said, if we hold on with our truest friends and lead them back to the path of light to prove hope and friendship still have great power in this world. So it's just you never know who you're going to meet. You say when you go there, and just the fact that sometimes you could be around someone they barely even know that you exist. I mean, sometimes they'll just ask, who are you? What say, where are you from? And that's just the perfect way to actually break the ice, because you never said some people could easily come from all over the place. Just to find work or even go to school. Because I knew people that came from the center of the state, and I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with the schools over there? And said, although and something really bad is just the fact that you just never know where you're going to get accepted, and said, but sometimes you just never know. And said how far people have already come to actually get to a certain point in life. I know that it took me a long time to actually figure out where I kind of wanted to be, and the fact that these kind of poems can bring a lot of joy depending upon the topic. So, we're currently working on another piece, but I will try to read something maybe around Sunday. Um, and so that was something I've already written, and people have actually said that it's a bit on the darker side, but in a good way. Although just the fact that people were kind of startled by certain song titles that I used. Um, but it was oddly enough by a request by someone who's brought me a lot of light in life. So it just seems like the more people say, "Oh, try this, try that," it's like it's gonna get darker because it's just kind of how that works. So it said, please like and subscribe, and hope everyone is going to enjoy their weekend. Have a good one.